One of the biggest arguments that I always see around XRP is that these big banks that are supposedly utilizing it are not creating any value. Why isn't XRP pumping when you have Bank of America and this bank and that bank all utilizing XRP? Like, what the hell is actually going on? And in this video, I am going to get to the bottom of it. So with that being said, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on in and really let's get down to the point why XRP is really not going up in value, even though supposedly there's hundreds of banks using XRP. Well, let's go all the way back to the summer of 2023 when we did get the big announcement that XRP was not a security. We have Ripple says US banks will want to use XRP cryptocurrency after partial victory in the SEC fight. Well, although, yeah, that might sound great on paper, there still is a major obstacle in the way of XRP. Now, everyone might be saying, well, yeah, we know, Nick, it's the institutional sales of XRP that we still are waiting for. Guys, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think that this SEC case mattered at all during this entire time. And I still don't think that it matters today. Now, you might be saying, Nick, you're crazy. It stifled price action. It, killed XRP. And yes, it definitely did cause a lot of damage back in 2021. But what is the excuse today? It's not, halting XRP at all right now. When we really think about XRP, it's relisted on all the major exchanges. There's a lot more happening around XRP today than ever before. What really is the holdup? Well, I'm going to talk to you guys about it. But first, I want to talk to you guys about the banks that are ready to use XRP. Number one, Bank of America. Bank of America, well over a little bit of a year ago, said that they praised Ripple for their impact on cross-border payments. We have in a recent report by Bank of America titled Breaking New Ground, Harnessing Payments Innovation in APAC. The role of Ripple Labs in the payment space in the Asia-Pacific region has been acknowledged by the Bank of America. The report highlights the significance of blockchain technology in digitizing trade documentation and the potential of Ripple solutions in revolutionizing cross-border payments. Ripple is an exception. Bank of America recognizes the transformative power of technology in facilitating real-time payments. APIs are the key driver of real-time payments adoption, according to the report, and have revolutionized connectivity as well as transaction processing for customers. And I could not agree with them anymore. We talked about this with the BIS, with Quant, with Project Rosalind as well. Very good stuff. But we have from the head of Treasury Products, APAC at Bank of America, they noted that we're already seeing open banking becoming a reality in EMEA, with the API mechanism being used to develop many new use cases. And we also have this transition to open banking, and the use of APIs will enable rapid and informed decision-making, allowing near real-time information flow to meet Treasury needs. Now, they do go on to mention, cross-border payment innovations like Swift GPI, for an example. But we have, the report claims, blockchain is being used as a security measure for certain transactions, but it has not had the success that the previous hype suggested. However, Bank of America acknowledges Ripple's potential as a possible exception with the cross-border payment space. But in cross-border payments, the work of Ripple is a possible exception. Its blockchain's impact has been limited. The reason for this is the rapid emergence of Swift GPI as the favored solution for tracking and tracing cross-border payments. Now, yes, they do have a great, relationship with Ripple. We have a few major institutions being named here that Ripple is working with, like the SBI Holdings, Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, Banco Santander, Western Union, the UAE Exchange, American Express, and so many other great names. We've talked about them, PNC, for an example. There's so many. We can go down the list all day long. I can make a video about that just by itself. But the number one thing here is, all right, Bank of America technically is ready. Even back in November of 2022, we saw Bank of America to partner with Ripple for on-demand liquidity services after the XRP lawsuit finishes. All right, well, technically, the lawsuit is finished, right? Why aren't they using XRP? Is this just, all hype? Is it just all nonsense? Well, technically, it's not. But also, on the other hand, it's not 100% accurate because there still is a major holdup. There's something holding these banks back. Now, even JP Morgan said if Ripple wins the SEC lawsuit, XRP is poised for a significant adoption. Now, I want you guys to understand, I don't want you guys to write off the idea that, like, all right, well, if Nick is saying that this doesn't matter, then it doesn't matter. No, what I'm saying is the SEC lawsuit was never the focus here. What is the focus behind the lawsuit? Is it to hold these, projects back? Is it to hold these companies back? Is it to hold this entire industry back? What really is the end goal of the SEC? We've talked about it. We've speculated. There could be multiple reasons why. One interesting topic that I've always really kind of looked at was, are they holding it back and are they trying to slow it down so that the big banks and the big players can finally get prepared for this and be ready when they want to green light the tech? Because you got to remember that these big bankers, these big incumbent names, they work with these regulators. They are in the pockets of these regulators. It's the number one reason why JP Morgan and these big banks, they get small little fines for, cheating the system all the time. When we think about that, wouldn't it make sense for the big banks that have been around this space for years? We're talking about, before there was any major arguments around what the SEC was doing or what they were planning, before the Ripple lawsuit as well, like these big banks were already here. So doesn't it make sense to come to the conclusion that these big banks were already building, they were trying to get ready, but the technology was advancing so fast they needed to slow it down so that they can get ready, they can work out a deal, they can plan around it and be ready when the regulators are ready to greenlight it, aka the incumbents are going to force the hand to greenlight it? It makes sense to me. Now, yes, you can't really hold technology back, and you're not going to. It's still going to expand. It's still going to grow massively. Ripple has expanded around the entire world outside of the US for the last couple years. They've been killing it. But what we hear all the time is all of these big banks, and even more recently, Public Policy at Ripple, an actual employee, posted back in the middle of August. This week's APAC Policy Digest highlights Ripple's contribution to the CFTE report on researching the global the global financial system. We also have regulatory updates from RBA, RBI, so many areas around the entire world. And even over here from XRP Drops, we have Project Enbridge, a collaborative initiative by the MAS, Ripple's approval from MAS, with Ripple's business-to-business focus, showing how strategic approaches can reduce end-user expenses, highlighting the value of regulatory investments in digital finance's evolution. And this is a quote of Raul Advani's post, because if we look at this, right, we can see that Ripple has been planning and preparing for this as well. When we talk about the big banks, they're not the only ones. Ripple has also been planning. Here we have cross-border peer-to-peer linkages in Project Enbridge. We have People's Bank of China, Central Bank of UAE, Bank of Thailand, Hong Kong Monetary Authority as well. You can see all of the big players here, a lot of them Ripple partners. We also have Project Guardian, collaborative initiative by the MAS, and financial institutions like JP Morgan and DBS Bank. Very interesting. And then we also have Ripple's regulatory approval from the MAS, also being mentioned. Ripple's acquisition of a payment institution license underscores the need for clear regulations spurring private sector innovation. Regulatory clarity fosters investment in digital innovation, supporting the sector's growth towards efficiency and inclusivity. Though initial compliance costs are high, they yield long-term success with Ripple's business-to-business focus, showing how strategic approaches can reduce end-user expenses, highlighting the value of regulatory investments in digital finance's evolution. Now, also over here, we have several Ripple partners are involved in Project Enbridge by the Bank of International Settlements, HSBC, Standard Chartered, SCB, the MAS. Ripple secured the Singapore license. The license granted by the MAS will allow Ripple to provide regulated digital payment token services. Therefore, Ripple serves as the perfect ledger and example in this report, or perfect leader, not ledger. Sorry, I apologize. But yes, they still are a major leader when it comes to this. And I do believe that Ripple is at the forefront of this when it comes to regulatory clarity. But the big question here is, why isn't Ripple being utilized? Why isn't XRP being utilized in a massive way? Well, over here from Chad Steingraber. Now, by the way, this original video was posted by Bull Dia back in 2016. He posted this in 2018. Now, the quote here is, in 2016, we gave 12 banks some XRP to test internally, and they loved it. They wanted to use XRP, but they couldn't because of a lack of regulatory clarity. This is APAC and Middle East. Over here, they are the ones who said it. Check it out.
And I think, so to give you some context, in 2016, what we did was we piloted with 12 banks. We said, hey, these 12 banks were based across regions throughout the globe, and they did not have pre-funded relationships with each other. What we did was we gave these 12 banks some XRP and asked them to settle within themselves. And it worked beautifully. But then they came back and said, you know what, this works beautifully, and we would love to adopt it, but we cannot. And precisely the exact reason just you mentioned about Basel III capital requirements, regulatory uncertainty, and so on. So they said that A, it's volatile, B, there are no set of regulations, so we cannot hold those assets in our books. So we actually went back to the drawing board and said, okay, look, how do we change this? Which is why we came up with this product called XRapid. And again, I absolutely agree with Lisa, so we actually piloted, instead of piloting with big banks, we piloted with the big payment providers because they were more willing to do this. And you know what? This actually now works because they don't have to hold the digital asset on their books, but using the piece of software, XRapid, they can actually connect to a digital asset exchange, convert fiat to XRP real time, and then XRP to fiat in real time in the other leg. And the entire transaction happens in 3 seconds. And so there is no case of volatility risk as well. And I think, to your point, just one more point, for any adoption of any technology, I think the intersection of 3 points is really, really important. Financial services, technology, and regulations. I think since the time Bitcoin was implemented, there was this notion that down with banks, down with central banks, Bitcoin was replaced fiat currency. Clearly that has not happened. And I think what's important really is, and that's something that Ripple has taken into its approach by collaborating with regulators and central banks across the globe.
I think that's essential.
Now, this is exactly why I say focus on the much bigger picture here. It's not about the SEC. The number one thing holding XRP back and holding a lot of the utility side of this space back is regulatory clarity. You heard it from themselves. And this goes all the way back to 2016, 2018. I mean, it's kind of crazy that regulatory, clarity was still a big focus then. It's even bigger now. It's one of the largest obstacles that slow down innovation, slow down utilization, and also slow down value creation in this space. But it's also why I focus on Ripple and what Ripple has been doing, because ever since, going all the way back to 2012, and, if we really look at every single deal inked, if we look at every single connection to Ripple, a lot of it is just based around big banks. Even over here from Smoke Dog, we have Bank of Thailand, HKMA, PBOC, UAE, Ripple-enabled central banks participating in Project Enbridge. Yeah, a lot of these big banks are tied right back to Ripple. Ripple's on-demand liquidity currently supports payments in 25 countries, including Singapore, Malaysia, Poland, Indonesia, and even Thailand. Over here, Ripple to demonstrate tokenization in HKMA, EHKD pilot program using new CBDC platform. They will participate in the Hong Kong Monetary Authority's HKMA's digital Hong Kong dollar central bank digital currency pilot. Also over here, in forging ahead with a central bank digital currency, PBOC may also render companies like Ripple, which uses its blockchain to facilitate cross-border transactions, redundant intermediaries for exchanges in RMB. Also over here, Ripple with Lulu Exchange and the Federal Bank send money faster from UAE to India with our enhanced real-time payment service. Like, as we look at a lot of these central banks, Ripple's already tapped in. And don't forget Medico, the standard for top-tier banks. More than half of the world's largest global custodian banks, as well as many regional, universal banks and corporates, have chosen Medico Harmonize as the core platform. And remember that Medico is now Ripple. So they inherited all of those big banks. And then last but not least, Ripple is working with central banks across every continent except Antarctica. Despite thousands of NDAs in place, some people still expect employees to disclose everything they know on X. This is from James Wallace from Ripple.
Working with them on that technology and then also working with them on the policy, which is going to be a big element on the success factor. I'll take a pause there and let my fellow panelists say something.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, which central banks in which countries are you working on or working with?
We're working with many of them. They're mostly under non-disclosure agreements, so I'm not at liberty to share the details. But I would say, we are working with them in each continent apart from Antarctica. The study by the Bank for International Settlements estimates, I think, 80 to 85% of central banks are doing some work. We're at different stages. I mean, we have some active projects, and then we have some working with them.
So they are working with basically every single central bank. They're in discussions with every single central bank around the entire world except for Antarctica. Think about how crazy that is. This is why I focus on regulations so heavily. Everything that these people are saying in the space, especially the naysayers, it means absolutely nothing to me. It's all noise to me. Because I think everyone's view that they want to push and all their opinions, every answer that we are looking for in the space to every question that we have will all be answered once regulations are in place. This space right now, everyone thinks that they know what it looks like. Everyone thinks that they know everything about this space. Listen, regulations, it's going to open up the door to everything. We are finally going to be able to see clearly about what was happening. Everything will be answered at that point. Every question that you ever had about XRP, every question you had about Hedera, about utility, why isn't utility creating value? Everything will be answered once regulations are in place. I strongly believe that. Regulations will completely change everything. I mean, it's going to revolutionize this entire sector for what it is. And from the ashes that are left over, utility projects that are actually here providing value in the real world will rise from the ashes of those that completely get purged from regulations, and we will see the new Amazons rise. I've always said that. There's going to be the new Amazon, Google, Microsoft, you name it. And I do believe that XRP is one of them. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on for more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.